Good morning, SyncEdge members. Hope you guys are all doing very well. I had this week actually three SyncEdge members that got accepted by various libraries through the SyncEdge program. So to those three that reached out to me and let me know about that, congrats to you guys. I love getting those success stories. I love seeing those results. I love seeing that the effort that I put into SyncEdge actually gets made into something useful and valuable for you guys in the terms of you guys actually getting contracts and getting your foot in the door in this industry. That's what I do all of this for. So I love getting those results. So thank you guys so much for sharing with those. If you guys haven't shared with me a success story of you getting accepted, please do. It really does encourage me to keep going with this and to keep doing the things that I do here with SyncEdge. So please don't be shy about that, and please don't hold it all to yourself. Please do let me know. If you're interested in doing like a review or an interview for me on my YouTube channel, I'm always very encouraged and happy to have you do that, because not only do I want to show you off a bit as one of the shining examples of what can be possible in this business, but I also want you to be able to encourage those other producers out there that are still struggling, haven't gotten their first contract yet, haven't gotten that sort of first attempt at just getting their foot in the door and really becoming a serious player in this business. So when my subscribers, YouTube subscribers, see that it's working for you guys, that's usually one of those big indications for them that it can work for them as well. Okay, because there's nothing special about me. Nothing really special about you either. We just do one thing that a lot of people don't want to do, which is we want to work hard, right? We want to actually do our research. We want to make sure that we're targeting specific companies, putting together really high quality music for them that's going to be licensable and valuable for their clients. And that's what a lot of producers just seem to miss the mark on, and they want to just, send out a bunch of music to a bunch of different companies and hope something sticks, and it usually just doesn't ever work out that way for them. So with SyncEdge, you guys are obviously getting much more of a custom tailored approach to it, a much more refined approach to it, and just a smarter approach to it. We're actually doing this in a professional way, in a way that makes a library owner feel valuable, and that they're not just being spammed to. They're not just one out of 50 people you emailed that day the same music to, right? This is why SyncEdge works, is because we treat people like human beings. We actually research who we're submitting to. We make sure that we're sending the music that's relevant and useful for them, and also saying a little bit about the fact that we've done our research and that we really want to partner with them. That's how I'm getting these success stories from my students. They're doing that work. And obviously with SyncEdge, you guys are getting a lot of that done for you with the research that I'm doing for you guys in the videos that you guys get every single month. So one other announcement before we get started: definitely start putting your questions in the chat box. I can definitely see your questions already, so start throwing those in there and keep it coming. I've also started a podcast. Most of you maybe have already been aware of that. I would really appreciate it if all you guys could give me a review, specifically on Apple iTunes or on Apple Podcasts, their app. I think you can leave reviews on many different platforms, but it seems like it's the most relevant to do it on the Apple app. So if you haven't listened to my podcast, just go to your Apple Podcast app, just type in Sync My Music. That's the name of the podcast. And definitely check it out. Obviously, give me your feedback. Email me. Let me know. You can comment below. I have every single podcast as a video podcast as well, and I release them on my YouTube channel. So leave me comments. Email me, whatever it is. Let me know what you're liking about it, what you want to see more, what you don't like about it. I'm really trying to discover this new form of content that I'm putting out there. I've never done a podcast before. I've just done my YouTube videos. So the more you guys can let me know what you're liking about it, what you want to see more of, the better it's going to be, because I want to make sure that's really entertaining and valuable and educational for you guys. But most importantly, above all else, please leave me a review. That's all I want. Okay, I'm not charging for the podcast. I don't want to throw any ads on there. I hate listening to really great podcasts, and right in the middle of it, they throw some unrelated ad that has nothing to do with the topic, and it's just so out of the blue. I don't want my podcast to ever go down that route. I want to just keep 100% with the content that I want to share with you guys, either just for myself, or maybe if I have somebody else that I'm interviewing, and I have some really great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, some really big names in the industry as well. So it's already off to a really great start. So please leave me that review, specifically on the Apple Podcast app or Apple Music, however it is you're getting your Apple podcast through. Just leave me a review. Please let other people know what you think about this podcast. That's really going to help other people discover what I'm doing here, and it's going to make sure that I don't charge for it. I don't throw ads in there. I just want to make sure it's 100% just content focused. So that would be your way to pay me back. Just leave me a review. I really do appreciate it, guys. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions I see coming in here already. All right. Good morning, Nigel, John, Source4, Zell. Awesome. All right. first question here is from Tom. Tom, hi Jesse, just joined your SyncEdge and Academy, so this is a new one to me. I'm wondering if libraries accept any material that I have already released or maybe plan to release on Spotify or iTunes. It's a very common question, Tom. Very good question that you're thinking about that. Non-exclusive libraries have absolutely no problem with that because it's non-exclusive. You can have your tracks blasting from a stereo at your house. You could have it on iTunes. You could tour with it. You can do whatever you want if it's a non-exclusive contract. Exclusive libraries, which are the vast majority of what I'm recommending in SyncEdge, some will have a problem with that. They won't want your music available to the public. Others are going to be okay with it. So you're saying you're planning on releasing stuff in the future. What you need to do is, as you create your, let's say, your album for a particular library, you need to ask them before you begin the negotiation process, before you get that contract, say, this is what I'm planning on doing. I'd like to release this music through iTunes, Spotify. Is that going to be a problem for you? Give them that transparency. What you don't want to do is just assume you can do that. Send them the music. You guys get under contract. It's all exclusively tied. And maybe in the contract it says the library has exclusive rights to distribute your music anywhere in the world. That means your tracks can't be on Spotify or iTunes unless they decide they'll put it out there on that platform on your behalf. What you don't want to have happen is that you violate that contract, throw your tracks on iTunes, Spotify. They see your tracks are out there publicly. They come to you, could take legal action against you, certainly would probably cancel your contract with them, would not want to rep your music anymore, and definitely don't want to work with you anymore because you're violating an agreement that you had with them. So always be transparent about that. It's pretty much a 50-50 thing. I'll be honest with you. Some libraries are totally cool with it. They don't really care. Others are a little bit more, they want things really under lock and key. If you're going to get your music distributed through them, they want it 100% through their catalog and through their outlets. So just be transparent with them and you'll get an answer from them, okay? Awesome. Source 4. Yes, this channel has helped a lot. It gives me inspiration to make more tracks. Awesome, man. I love to hear that. That's why I do this. Audio Sync Studio podcast is great so far, rated and reviewed. Thanks, man. Really do appreciate that. Tell us more about the upcoming patches. Oh, so it's called plugins and palettes. So you got the P's right, but the name wasn't quite there. So the plugins and palettes course, that's actually going to be included with Sync Academy starting this Monday. So if you guys are Sync Academy members, you guys already get access to that coming Monday. And I'll make a big announcement. I'll email you guys. You guys will all have all that. It's not included in SyncEdge though, so you do need to be a Sync Academy member to get it for free. However, you can purchase it by itself. This is going to be one rare exception. I haven't done this actually for any other tutorials that I've released in Sync Academy. This one you can purchase by itself. It'll be $97. And essentially what it is myself and 2 other professional sync licensing producers opening up our DAW sessions and giving you our secret sauce. What plugins we use, what samplers, what loops, what sounds. Not necessarily mixing and mastering. We're going to be only focusing this on the on sounds, strings, drums, guitar, bass, pads, sound effects, risers, hits, impacts, you name it. Okay, percussion. Everything that we use in 6 major genres we're going to be sharing with you. And that is going to be rock, pop, EDM, hip-hop, orchestral and trailer kind of mixed together, and then minimal tension. So between those 6 genres, we're giving you basically our secret sauce for the sounds, the libraries, the plugins that we use to achieve a licensable sound, a very competitive sound. One of the big drawbacks for most producers, one of the reasons why many, and maybe many of you watching this Q&A right now, why some of you have got rejected or ignored by libraries, is not because you don't have great musical ideas or that your compositions are really terrible. It's just that you're probably using really low quality ingredients, low quality samples, stock stuff, the stuff that just came with your DAW or you found on some free website. You might have some great, awesome ideas, but you're using, I always make the analogy, like imagine if you wanted to be a professional painter, but instead of going and investing in proper brushes and oils and all the proper paints you need and getting like a canvas, you just got like the broken crayons you found in your garage and you use like a jagged piece of wood to draw on, right? You're using low quality tools, you're not going to get a high quality output. Same thing if you're a chef, right? If you're using sort of microwave leftover ingredients, chances are you're not going to have a really great tasting dish at the end. A high quality chef will tell you it's all about fresh ingredients, high quality ingredients, right? Same thing with music production. So I know that for myself, maybe it was probably like 8 or 9 years ago, that was one of the first things that instantly increased the value of my production. I felt like very kind of like cheesy, low quality music that was not really standing up to the competition. And the minute that I started to invest in proper sounds and high quality samples, It did two things. One, it immediately improved the sonic quality of my track. So I immediately felt like it was much more on a professional level. And number two, it saved me so much time in mixing and mastering. Because when you start with high quality ingredients, ask Chef Ramsay, who I love. I watch Ramsay stuff all the time. You don't need to go digging through tons and tons of ingredients to make the thing great at the end. If you're starting with high quality ingredients, salt, pepper, some oil, maybe some butter, some garlic. That's it. You don't really have to go above and beyond, and that's what I mean for our mixing and mastering process. Those are kind of what we do, is we'll enhance what we already have there. So if you start with a high quality ingredient list, high quality samples and plugins, you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to, struggle to get your track to sound better. I know many of you guys get stuck in that place where it's like it's been 4 days and the track now seems like it's getting worse. You're getting lost in the mastering process. Your mastering and mixing process shouldn't take you more than an hour or two, maybe 3 or 4 at the most, if you're starting with really high quality starting points with those high quality ingredients. So that's what's coming on Monday with the plugins and palettes course series. It is available as a standalone purchase, $97. But if you're a Sync Academy member, and you can join now if you're not a Sync Academy member, if you're just a SyncEdge member and want to just upgrade to the bundle, just email me after this Q&A session. I'll do that for you. But you guys will get free access to that. It's going to be a part of the platform. Only until, though, the end of the year. At the end of the year, that's no longer just automatically included in a Sync Academy membership. That's going to be something you'll have to pay extra if you want to get that. So this is a really good time to join or upgrade to the bundle if you guys want to do that. All right, I know I'm way behind now. Let's try to catch up. Dan Mack, I have read that ASCAP shows your cue sheets. Does BMI have this service, or wait till you receive an email? Unfortunately, as of today, no, BMI does not show those cue sheets. Hopefully they will in the future, but you're right. Right now, just ASCAP does that. Got another question, Dan. All right, how many tracks you had at the point of full-time income became real? I probably had a couple of hundred out in the system circulating for me. I don't know if I can give you the exact number of how many that was, but it was basically around 2 years, 2.5 years, where I started to see the income that was allowing me to feel confident that I didn't have to necessarily do the independent contracting work that I was doing at the time so much. I could actually start to, and it's a process, right? It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, all right, no more other work. You start off, when I started off, I remember it was about like maybe 70% freelance work, 30% I was be able to devote to music. And then as the months and years moved on, that percentage started to shift the other way, where I was 80% doing music and only 20% did a couple of supplemental gigs. I remember towards probably 7 years ago, 6 to 7 years ago, it got to the point where I was doing like 2 corporate gigs a year, 2 video gigs, where I had one client essentially that would do these seminars, and I would go and film their seminars, and that would be like twice, sometimes maybe 3 times a year, but that was it. That was the only video work that I was doing, and it's because they paid really well. They were a great client to work with, and I actually learned a lot from it. It was actually like a real estate, and they had a whole bunch of different interesting topics there, so I learned a lot actually just going to it, getting paid to film their event and do the audio work for it. So it's kind of like what you'll probably see in your career if you're sticking with it, is you'll slowly start to see that percentage of time you can devote to your music starts to increase as the months and years go on. All right, Nigel, like your podcast so far. Thanks. Keep up the great work. I ran my own podcast for a couple years with 100 plus episodes and found out the shorter episodes, less than 25 minutes, definitely work the best. Okay, thanks, man. I'm kind of conflicted on the length of it. Right now I'm shooting between 30 minutes and an hour for my episodes. To get longer than an hour, I think I'm going to definitely need a couple of guests maybe. It's just so long for me to be able to, ramble on. And at some point, I just get bored with myself talking for that long. So I feel like I don't think anybody really wants to listen to something for more than an hour. I know there's awesome podcasts like Joe Rogan's podcast. His is like 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours long. And they can go on and they just kind of like, they're just hanging out basically, which is kind of a cool format. You're just kind of listening to people just hang, right? And if you're having a great conversation, they can go that long. So I want to have a sort of fine balance between, I want it to be informal and kind of personal, obviously, but I do want it to be educational. I want it to be motivational, inspirational. So I'm going to experiment with it. So I'm glad that yours worked out, and that's awesome. I mean, to do something over 100 times is not easy, Nigel. So congrats to you, man. I don't know if are you still doing it? You ran it for a couple years. Don't know if you're still doing it, but man, that's a great accomplishment though, man. For right now, what I've committed to myself is I'm doing once a week episodes, and I'm going to definitely commit to a full year of doing it. I'm going to kind of evaluate where I am in a year. If it's growing, if the audience is liking it, if you guys are getting some value out of it, I'll continue on. But that's what I've made a commitment to myself, to do this just once per week for the year, because I'm getting to the point where I can only do so much. You guys know that I still make music, I still send music to libraries, and I do a lot of this stuff as well. I do, Sync Edge, Sync Academy, Syndicate. I have so many things that I handle, and so putting the podcast out there was one of my, do I really have time for that? Is that something I can actually do? And so far, I'm able to do it, because basically what I'll do is I'll pre-shoot them, put them in a can, and they're ready to go later on. So when I have a free open week, which I did a couple weeks ago, I shot quite a few of those episodes, and I'm just going to slowly release them as the weeks go on. But I just got to make sure I don't burn out. That's the big thing for myself. I have to really protect my time and my energy. Audio, your name is Mark. All right, man. Awesome. What percentage, this is from Dan, what percentage do we pay as taxes as composers? Well, you're going to pay whatever your income bracket is going to show you. So there's no like independent, like there's not like a tax bracket for composers or where you're making music. If I'm assuming you're a US citizen here, you're going to pay whatever you're owed, whatever your tax bracket tells you based on your total income you're going to be paying. So that's what you're going to be paying. There's no like, hey, you make music? Okay, here's your tax bracket. You make music for TV film? Here's your tax bracket. It's going to be across the board how the IRS sort of says, all right, well, you make up to this amount, this is the percentage you owe. You make up to this amount, that kind of thing, right? You see the I'm not going to go into the tax brackets, but that's basically how you get calculated there. All right, Crossroads Johnson. Hey, Jesse, do I log my instrumental vocal track and clean version to my ASCAP? If you're talking about registering, usually you're going to have a library do that for you, Crossroads. That's what they're going to do after they accept your music, okay? What you need to do is then log into your ASCAP account, looks like you're with ASCAP, and just double check and make sure that your tracks did get registered to you as the writer. But usually let them do that because they need to put in their publisher information and all that good stuff. It doesn't make any sense for you to register your tracks before you submit to a library, because there's no chance, unless you have somebody you're sending your music to that can get placements. If your tracks aren't in a library, there's no chance of your tracks getting placed anyway. So having a registration with ASCAP before it's in a library, it's in ASCAP's system, but there's no chance of you actually earning royalties off it. Your music has to be somewhere where you can actually get those royalties. So that's why I usually say focus on just submitting a very concentrated, high quality pitch to a library. Once they get you under contract, they'll walk you through the registration process, how they're going to do that. All right, back up here. All right, Nigel, really looking for the plugins and palettes course, because this can be a huge area of overwhelm when there are too many patches presets. Yeah, so it is overwhelming, and especially these days, because there's more and more of these pop-ups coming up all over the place, and some of them are great. Like I saw an ad the other day for it was a guitar plugin, and it was like, realistic guitars without all the tuning and timing issues. And I listened to it, I was like, nah. Like I just from the demo, I was like, it's kind of cool you guys are trying to do this, but like I think the guitars that I use are way better. They sound so much more realistic than the ones that I'm seeing there. So there's going to be a lot of people that come out and say that they have these like brand new cutting edge, AI generated, blah 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 blah. And yeah, it's very confusing because there's so many ways to get music and plugins out there. So I think this is definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Nigel. That's why we did this. It's from me. You guys know me. It's from 2 other Sync Academy professionals. These are guys that are not just like coming in and like, oh yeah, this is what I think would work on TV. They get placements. These are guys that actually get placements. They actually have a career doing this. So we're going to basically clear out all the noise, all the clutter for you, give you guys direct links, direct access to these plugins, and no affiliate fees, or affiliate links, whatever. We're not getting paid to recommend any of these that we have in this course, okay? They're 100% just honest recommendations for what we use. We don't want you guys we don't want it to be where, well, this company is giving me an affiliate commission to recommend them, so I'll give them a lot of airtime. That's not honest, right? I don't want you guys to have that kind of an experience with plugins and palettes. We're just opening up our sessions and opening up every single track and every single sound that we're using and showing you also not only what they are, but we're gonna show you a quick down and dirty tutorial to how to use them very quickly and get a really high quality sound out of them. Michael, hey Jesse, love your course. Question: if a library wants an exclusive contract and knows your album is already on iTunes, Spotify, do they ever ask you to remove it? It's possible. I don't think they would ask you to remove it. What would likely happen is if they don't want it out there, they'd probably just say, we can't take that music because it's already out there. I don't think they would put you in a position to say it's either us or put it on Spotify or iTunes, make a choice. It's possible, but I think what you would do at that point, if you really want to work with them, but you want to keep your music on Spotify or iTunes, what you should do is just say, no problem, I'm going to start creating on a brand new album in that style. If you guys like what I have out there on my iTunes and Spotify, I'll create basically another album that sounds just like it, just as high quality, but 100% exclusively for you guys. That's what I would do. Unless, I mean, if you're making, this is what I'd say, if you're making money from your iTunes and Spotify distribution model, yeah, I wouldn't disrupt that because you're making money. Why would you? You know, it depends on how much. I guess you have to decide that. But if you're making nothing or pennies and it's, you know, it's not really going anywhere, you got to decide what's more important to you. Having your music on iTunes and Spotify that's not generating almost any interest for you, or getting it into a music library that can actually get you some TV placements and generate some sync fees and some royalties for you. So you got to decide, you know, what your priorities are, where you want to go with your career. Obviously, that's for you to decide. But yeah, I think just creating a brand new album in the same style that's something that's out there might be the way to go. And you just basically tell them like, I'll get back to you in a month or maybe 2 months, however long you feel it'll take you to do, and say, you know, hang on, I'm going to get you guys exactly what you want, and it'll be 100% just for you guys to distribute. So that would be a way around that. All right, Martin, welcome. Yeah, you didn't miss too much, man. Not too late. Do you have health insurance, and what do you recommend to get independently? I do have health insurance, but I'm not going to give you guys recommendations on where to get it independently. I don't feel like I have like qualifications. Everybody has their own needs and their own, you know, whatever it is you have, like whatever you want to get covered, all that kind of stuff. There are plenty. If you just type in, you know, independent health insurance or just anything like that, you'll find plenty of companies and plenty of places that do it. It is not obviously cheap, and I do think actually more important than health insurance is taking care of your health. I'm actually much more of like the money that I spend on health insurance is nothing compared to the money that I spend on just taking care of myself. Honest with you guys, I don't have like a massive health insurance policy. It's a very minimal one actually. But what I do spend money on is making sure I have really good sleep. I have a really good mattress that I really get great sleep on. I have a white noise machine that blocks out all the sound to make sure I really get good sleep. Supplements, a gym membership. I get my blood tested. Like I do a lot of stuff myself, 100% thinking and assuming that the more that I do of this stuff now, when I'm sort of somewhat still young, the less of a chance I'm going to have long-term health issues going forward. Because you know, health insurance is kind of a misnomer. It's really more sick insurance. You usually use it when you're sick, when something's already gone wrong. And sometimes whatever, we all get sick, we all have the flu, we all get, you know, whatever. But for chronic health issues, a lot of that stuff can be, unless you're born with it like a genetic issue or whatever, a lot of that stuff can be prevented by just having really good health, you know, sleep, exercise, and eating, you know, your diet, really. Those are the three things. You take care of those things now, and no matter how old you are, how young you are, you will avoid a lot of these bigger problems down the road. So that's where most of my effort and focus on is actually in health, not in sickness or sick insurance, that kind of a thing. So, but again, I definitely don't want to get into that topic. That's a completely separate thing. So let's stay on licensing here. Yeah, I see it's a little bit jerky. Martin, it's weird. It says green actually on my OBS program, but it does show as orange on YouTube. So not much I can do about that right now, man. Sorry. But as long as you guys can hear me, you'll get the information. Audio sync. Do you feel that live instruments, live bass, provide an advantage for sync tracks versus MIDI? Assuming they are played well, of course, primarily concerning rock tracks. Yes and no, because these days, Mark, I actually use everything MIDI when I do. And I just did a whole bunch of rock tracks actually for a really big opportunity with one of my library partners. And it was all MIDI. MIDI guitars, MIDI bass, MIDI drums. As long as the quality of what you're using, and that's what you're going to get with plugins and palettes, as long as the quality that you're using sounds live and it's believable live, yeah, what difference does it make if I plugged it in? The one thing I would say, though, is the drum set, if you guys can see me, see it right behind me. No, actually, if I go this way, that's my electronic drum set back there. I've been pulling that out a little bit more often this year to try to get more of a realistic human feel on my drum programming. But I can do everything that I do back there. It takes a little bit longer, of course, when I program it, but I can do all those things with the MIDI drums that I use. So I think it's like a balance between time and quality. So if taking out all your live instruments takes you 3 hours to record a guitar part, whereas if you just use a really great sounding MIDI instrument that you couldn't really tell a difference if it was live or not, and that takes you 15 minutes to compose, what's more important to you? Having the authentic live experience of it, or something that feels live enough? You know, what's live enough? You can be the judge of that. If you don't feel these MIDI guitars that I'm using are live enough for your taste, okay, then don't use them. But I will tell you that most people are not musicians. Most people, even in this industry, in the sync licensing business, like music supervisors, ad agencies, trailer houses. Most people are not musicians, actually. They are either creative people on the other side of the equation, or they're just like business people that are in the process of solving problems for people looking for content, whether it's video content or audio content to match up, right? A lot of times it's just sort of like a binary. Does this sound believable or not? And if it's in that sort of yes category, that these drums, these guitars sound live, they sound awesome, they just sound big and impactful, you've passed the test, right? So you got to decide what's important to you. For me, I really do value my time. I used to, when I first got started, I would plug into my guitar and record everything live. And that's, sometimes that's enjoyable, but a lot of times it's not, because you get a little tuning issue in one of your tracks. You got to redo all of them. You got a timing issue. You got to redo all of that. And when it comes down to cranking out a high number of tracks in a short amount of time, which I had to do for this opportunity about 2 weeks to a month ago, I don't have that kind of time, and it's not important enough to me to make sure that I have a live guitar with me on track. I want to make sure that the track itself just sounds great, and I don't care how I get there. I don't care what tools in the future come down the pipe that allow me to do that. I'm just for the quality of the track. All right, probably too long of an answer there. Let's go on here. Mike, welcome. Good morning. All right. Went way too far down. Hold on, guys. I'll find it. Okay. No, I mean, there's really not too. I mean, I hear that from a lot of people. Like, how do you get all this stuff done? I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't see myself as some superhuman guy that, I sleep 8 hours a day. I sleep regular hour. I mean, I don't know, maybe not regular for some of you guys. I do go to bed like at 8:30, wake up at 5. You'll be surprised though, if you wake up at 5, how much you can get done. Let's say you go to work at 8 or 9. 5 to 9, that's at least 3 hours of solid work you could do, I don't know, depending on your commute. But like, you wake up at 5, you can get a lot of stuff done in 3 hours. And it might be the quiet time in the morning. So like your family, your roommates, or people that are in the house with you, nobody's even up. So nobody's bothering you. Everybody's nice and quiet. You can even put headphones on and get a lot of work done. So I don't really feel stressed or overwhelmed. I mean, I do have a lot going on, but I've just been able to effectively plan it out, so it's not completely killing me. So no, I don't buy it that I have some sort of special power. I think you guys, all of you guys, could do everything that I'm doing right now if health is lined up there, right? Sleep is really, really important and a really a crucial part of all that. So and I love what I do. When you love what you do, and you guys obviously all love making music, it's not going to feel like work. So like, none of this stuff feels like work to me, guys. Like, it can be stressful, it can obviously be a lot of effort, but it doesn't feel like clocking in. Okay, got to do the SyncEdge Q&A today. Got to do, like, it never feels that way. I might be a little bit not feeling good myself for whatever reason, but I'm always excited to interact with you guys, and I love helping people, and I love just sharing information and learning. You guys teach me so much stuff about this industry, so it doesn't feel like work to me. It just feels like a hang, just like a cool, fun thing to do. So, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to find something on Earth that I married those two things together. Something that I was pretty good at, something that I loved, and something that I could actually make a business at. So it was kind of cool. But you guys are all doing the same thing, right? You guys are all in love with making music, and you're getting into this industry to be able to just do that full time. So yeah, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be stressful, but like, for the most part, it should feel very enjoyable and very fun. So it doesn't feel like work. Joseph, you prefer long podcasts, long enough to listen on the walk. Okay, cool. Mike, I'm having an impossible time communicating with ASCAP. Give them a call. I know sometimes they're better and not so good at talking to people, but just hound them, man. Just keep calling them. Leave messages, email them, whatever. Anything you can do. Try to just keep going. Don't give up. Just keep going for it. Martin, sadly, my budget doesn't allow me to buy a bunch of Native Instruments stuff, not because of the cost, but rather the cost to upgrade my system to run it. Yeah, I mean, you guys, obviously, I get it. Like, I'm not saying that like we all have thousands of dollars laying around that we can go upgrade our system, but be selective about, okay, yes, you know what, my drums just don't do it. I need to get better drums. Focus on one thing, maybe. You will need to invest in your tools and the sounds that you're using. We are professionals, right? If you're going to call yourself a professional sync licensing producer, do you think a professional sync licensing producer doesn't invest in their tools, doesn't invest in their plugins, doesn't invest in getting the highest quality samples? I had a member the other day on Sync Academy who was talking about you signing up for Splice, which is $7.99 a month. Okay, very, very affordable. Most of you guys have a Netflix account and you're paying $13 a month or whatever you're paying for that, right? Or you have some subscription that's way more than $8 a month. And this member was trying to figure out how to get only look for the freebie samples that don't count against his credits, because with Splice you get like 100 downloads a month. And I'm thinking, you're going to call yourself a sync licensing producer, should you be looking in the cheap, easy, free bin so that you can not go to the next level of splice? Because the next level of splice is, it might be $11.99 or whatever it is. Come on, like if you're going to call yourself a professional licensing producer, what should your first focus be? It shouldn't be on, well, can I save a couple of pennies here and there? No, it should be, where's the highest quality music? Where's the highest quality sample? Where's the best sounding drums? What's the perfect sound for what I want to achieve? What are these? Where are these reference tracks that have these great things? Or where are these tools that are going to make my track sound really awesome? Okay, I'm not saying go out and splooge, $5,000 on a whole new system all at once. Piecemeal it. You save up a couple $100 here and there. You slowly accumulate all this kind of stuff. That's how I got my entire system. I didn't buy it all overnight. It was like, what do I need first? Okay, I need some great speakers. And so I put down, I think it was like $500 or $1,000 for the speakers that I had. And you just slowly build up your process there. But you do need to start to invest in yourself and in your studio setup if you're going to call yourself a professional. All right. All right, the Cool Crew. How do you feel about Spitfire audio versus East-West plugins for TV placements? We'll talk about that in plugins and palettes. You'll learn all about those ones in there. Mike, really looking forward to that. Okay, cool. Let's. All right. All right. Looks like you guys are kind of going back and forth with some stuff there. Okay, here's a good one. Michael, how do you handle earworms when you can't get that tune out of your head and can't sleep because of it? I'm guessing you mean your song, right? That you're composing that you can't get out of your head. Well, that's great, man. That's a great indication that you're onto something really, really good. If you can't sleep because of it, try melatonin. I take melatonin almost every night. It's a great sleeping aid. It's all natural. Or maybe you just need if you really can't sleep, it's better. I think it's honestly better if you have you're struggling sleeping, get out of bed and go work. Like, don't sit in bed and just struggle sitting there, torturing yourself. I wish I could sleep. I wish I could sleep. I want to get this done. And I can't sleep. It's actually better for you to get out of bed and not associate your sleeping time with stress. So if you really can't get out of your head and you really want to finish something, go put your headphones on. Don't wake everybody else up in the house or whatever, but get out of bed and go work, maybe for just an hour or so to maybe get a little bit done, and then you'll feel a little bit better about getting back to sleep. So, all right. ALESRB. Don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. Yeah, so the Martin, for the MIDI drums, I needed to crank, like I was just saying, I needed to crank out a lot of your thing here real quick. I needed to crank out a lot of tracks, and I mean like 2 or 3 a day for a couple of days to hit the needs of this particular opportunity. When I have an opportunity like that, that's just not going to work because it's going to take a lot more time, and it's a lot more finessing that I have to do, and also getting the performance right and all that kind of stuff. So for me, when I need something quick like that, it's down and dirty, and I need it to get much quicker. So when I have a little bit more time and I can kind of develop something I'll definitely go to the drum kit, and it's something I'm just sort of putting into my my repertoire a little bit more. But yeah, I still, like, my default, if I need to do something quickly, it's still with the MIDI drums because they just sound great. They sound really good. Yeah, it's really fun. It's a really fun kit. Play it every day, actually. At least most days. Some days I'm not able to do it, but it's just great therapy playing drums for me. Martin, how do you rate those MIDI guitar instruments and amps as far as easy to edit mistakes after recording? 10 out of 10. Super easy. Just if you can edit piano MIDI or drums MIDI, you can record guitars and their MIDI performances. Very easy. The Cool Crew. Jesse, I currently have someone pitching my music to TV and film, and I'm getting placements. I'm wondering if you could possibly recommend any libraries that mainly focus on placing music for commercials. Almost, well, not every single, but a lot of the libraries that I have in SyncEdge do also do a lot of commercials, and actually a lot of those in the videos you'll see if I point that out to say, like, look at all these commercial placements in this style. This is why I'm telling you guys to go for them. So you're in the right place, Cool Crew, but you do have to do a little bit of research. Okay, I'm not going to hand you everything. You have all the videos, though, in the SyncEdge membership area, so you need to go through those videos, watch them, at least the ones that are relevant to your genre. They're all categorized and or at least listed underneath or above the video by the genre that I'm recommending in the video. So watch those and see which ones actually have some ad placements associated with them. You got to do a little bit of work. Okay, I can't do everything for you guys. Dog is outside of the room. She was I just don't want to have her locked. I close the door when I do this, so I don't want her to be locked in here if she needed to go out or whatever. So I don't have her in the room when I do longer videos like this. So she'll make an appearance, guys. I appreciate it. We'll have the dog on one of my episodes one of these days. From Mark, it's part of my personal Sync 60 challenge. I decided to get up at 5. Gives me extra hours to do with no distractions. The key is actually get up and do it. Yeah, isn't that the key for everything? Everything that I teach you guys, it's, you know, I think a lot of you guys, once you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's not like rocket science. It's kind of common sense. Most of the stuff I teach you guys. The key is exactly what you said, Mark, is execution. You got to do it. Okay. It's one thing to understand how to succeed with sync licensing. It's another to consistently get up and actually put the work in and actually start cranking out music and building up your catalog and submitting to libraries. So it is not easy, but the execution, what I find is the more you do something, the more it becomes just a habit and it's second nature. So for now, waking up early is just second nature for me. It's just a habit. If I were to, I can't even sleep in. It's not actually impossible for me to sleep in at this point. I can't sleep in probably past 5:36. If 5:36 hits around, even if I got to bed really late, my body's like, you're not sleeping anymore. Get up. You're done. Like, that's it. Your sleeping time is over. You just didn't get enough this morning. So it's waking up early is now a habit. Same thing with, whoops, sorry, I just totally knocked my mic there. Same thing with working out. I go to the gym probably every 2 to 3 days. And now these days, like if I get busy and I'm kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff for the business or whatever, and it's been 5-6 days a week and I haven't gone to the gym, my body starts to feel weird and it's like, it compels me. It's like, you need to go to the gym. Like, things are not working great right now. Go get your energy out, go lift weights, go sweat a little bit. And so now staying in shape and going to the gym is just second nature. It's just something my body has now gotten used to. So, you know, it takes a little bit of time, but the more you do these things, the more they become just a part of your regular schedule. Definitely not working when I'm sleeping. I love to sleep and I love to not think about anything when I'm sleeping. Yeah. All right, Crossroads. Hey, Jesse, I purchased some full rights exclusive hip hop beats years ago. Was wondering, am I able to submit those to libraries even though I am not the one that composed them? I have all the stems too. If you purchase them outright and you own them, like you own the masters, you own the copyrights, and you have paperwork to prove that, they are your tracks. You bought them basically. So yeah, you can absolutely do whatever you want to do with them. I would double, triple check, just make sure that original composer. But this is the one thing you can get in trouble with that whoever you bought them from, how do you know what they've done with that same track, right? What if they've also put that track out on Spotify or on YouTube or somewhere else, and then you came later and then bought it from them, but they never took it down from any of those other platforms that it was on, right? So I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you need to be a composer, right? If you're going to be a music producer and actually produce the music that you're going to distribute out there. That way you're 100% clear on where the music came from. You know where it's distributed or where it's not distributed. You leave yourself open to a couple of potential problems, legal problems that way. All right, Michael, many years ago I joined BMI and ASCAP. All of my tunes are registered with BMI. Are there any advantages to keeping ASCAP or terminating? Well, you can't be a writer with both. So if you did sign up as a writer with both BMI and ASCAP, you cannot do that. So you need to go cancel. Who you say you're with? You're with tunes are registered with BMI. I would stay with BMI. I think BMI is the way to go for TV film placements. I've found that my royalties grew and got better, and I do mostly instrumental tracks. I do think for instrumental tracks, they've done better for me. So I would keep them with them and definitely terminate ASCAP. You cannot be a writer with both. I don't know, maybe you can clarify that. But if you just had, let's say, like a publishing company with one and you were a writer with the other, yeah, you can do that. But I would terminate ASCAP immediately if you're a writer there. Mike Giannato, what's up? Mike Giannato here in the chat is actually one of the Sync Academy pros that is teaching in plugins and palettes. And so you guys will get to see him open up actually 2 of his tracks. He's doing the orchestral trailer stuff and the hip hop track. And he recommends between his 2 tutorials, I think there's something like 30 or 40 different plugins that he uses a lot. I don't use that many in my productions, but he has a lot of great ones and insights for how he uses it. So that's something you guys will really enjoy. Let's see. Mike says, unused Splice credits also roll over to the next month. Sometimes I forget about my subscription. The next thing I know, I have 600 credits. Yeah, absolutely. So with Splice, and I probably have thousands at this point because I've been subscribed for, I don't know, 2 years or something like that, and I don't always use it. So you're absolutely right. It's not like if you don't use those 100 credits, you lose them. They just go to the next month. So and 100 credits is a lot. I mean, yeah, there could be situations where you might need more than that, but yeah, don't be cheap with that stuff, guys. This is your career, okay? So it's crazy when I hear these kind of stories when people are like trying to nickel and dime a couple of things, and yet I know you have a cable subscription that you're paying. You're paying probably $100 to $200 per month being a consumer of the content that you are wanting to put your music in, right? So you're spending all this money to consuming it all. And then when it comes down to, do you want to become a producer for it? Do you want to actually make money and supply music for these shows and and commercials and movies that you enjoy? But people are like nickel and diming on the tools they want to use to become a producer. It's like 180 backwards. Like you should be spending as little as money as possible consuming this stuff, and you should be spending as much as possible becoming a producer and the tools that you might need to become a producer if you want this to be full time. I mean, if you're just dabbling and having fun with it, okay, you select your own level of involvement. You can do that. But I'm talking to you guys, and I know you guys are serious investors here. You're with SyncEdge. You want to do this full time. Got to invest. We are producers. So, and producers are smart. They're the ones that actually want to not just consume media, not just consume culture, but create culture and actually produce something of value to the world. And we got to have the right tools to do that. So, okay, Michael, you said your song, but I don't know if that means, it sounds like you did sign up as a writer with both. Definitely, man, I would go cancel your ASCAP like today, like do that right away. All right. All right, Tom, one quick question. I'm a UK-based artist and registered my tracks to PPL, PRS. I don't actually know what PPL is. PRS, I know, which is the UK royalties collectors. Okay, so I guess you guys have two of those there. Can I get into US-based libraries without ASCAP and BMI? Absolutely. Great question. I have many international students and Sync Academy, Syndicate, and SyncEdge members that are getting accepted by the libraries that I recommend in SyncEdge. So they are absolutely possible. The only thing is you're going to give them your PRS, basically IPI number. That's going to be the number you need to give to them so that when they register the tracks, it shows up. One thing I will say, there is a universal registration system. So even though the registration takes place by, let's say, a US library, theoretically, PRS should pick up on that and it should show up in their system. So you should be able to log in and see it. However, there are circumstances, and I've seen this happen, where it doesn't translate and the PRS people don't get notifications and they don't see that a track was registered with a PRS member by a US library. Okay. If you, I would say, talk to the library you're going to partner with, ask them what's your process for international or just registrations in general, and how long does it usually take for you guys to register tracks? Get that answer first. Let's say they say it takes us about a month to do that. Okay, so definitely just chill for about a month after your tracks get accepted. After a month, you should see or start to look and check your PRS website to see if those tracks start showing up and showing you as the writer. If after a month you're not seeing that, that's when you need to reach out to the library, and you might need to do some coordination between them and PRS. There might be a situation where you have to do a little bit more extra work to make sure that communication happens, because around the world, things slip through the cracks, people don't check things, and there could be problems with this international universal registration system. So I've definitely seen that happen where foreign people not in the US do have to do a little bit of extra homework just to make sure that things do get registered. So just be aware of that. But absolutely, you can work. I have many students that are working and getting placements with US companies, being from all over the world, Europe, UK, Australia. Even I have a member now in Korea doing well out there. So all over the world, you can absolutely do it. All right. Outputs Arcade versus Splice. I haven't used Outputs Arcade, so I can't really give you a review on them, but I have used Splice for 2 years, and I do like Splice. All right. Is it better to leave my country's only PRO if it only pays royalties once a year and then join BMI? Or should I stay with my PRO and have an agreement with them to block out the US and then join with BMI? I mean, that's a good question for you to answer. I can't answer that for you. I mean, getting paid once a year, that is really tough. If you play, here's where I will say, I'm not sure which country you're from, but if you plan on working with mostly US companies and getting US placements, I would leave your PRO, find out how to get out of your contract with them, and then just go directly join BMI, because BMI is a US based organization, obviously. And I think there's less chances of your placement slipping through the cracks, especially for the international, as we just talked about the registration and data going back and forth. So if you plan on being mostly involved in the US market, get a US PRO. Yeah, once a year, that's really, really tough to get one paycheck a year. I don't know. That would be almost impossible to survive on. That'd be more of a, kind of cool part-time income kind of gig. You can maybe, I got a bonus check this year from the PRO, right? But yeah, getting those quarterly checks is kind of almost necessary to be able to live, to have some sort of consistent income that can help you pay your bills as you move forward in this business. All right. Michael, I use horn riff samples and then edit them with Melodyne to fit my own MIDI horn tracks to make them sound more real. Is that a violation of the terms with most sample libraries? I mean, you got to obviously check for yourself. I can't speak for every end user license agreement, but it doesn't seem like that would be something that would be a problem. In fact, most of them want you to edit them and not just submit them by themselves. That seems to be the most common thing with sample libraries out there and loops, is they just don't want you to, like, let's say there's a vocal sample. They don't want you to send that vocal sample isolated to a library and start getting placements, because you just passed it along, right? You didn't do anything to it. You didn't chop it up. You didn't add it to some music. You didn't do anything to that sample. So that's usually where the violations come from, when you're just sort of like taking their music and here you go, give me the royalties. That's what they don't want you to do. But no, I think that's actually what they do want you to do. They want you to mess with their samples and adjust them to your production so that you've added something to it. So you've basically mixed your labor with their audio samples. So for the most part, that should be no problem. But obviously, always read your own agreements. I can't be the spokesperson for every contract out there. How do you feel about producers taking splice MIDI loops, switching up the notes, and then converting the audio like they played it for TV and film? I was in a session, that's all they did. It can be done. I mean, basically all you're doing is, now MIDI loops would have no samples associated. So you're basically just talking about like let's say a 4-bar melody progression or something like that. And then they go in there and they switched around. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're basically changing what they did and you're using your own samples for it. Maybe you want to bounce that out as an audio. Absolutely. You could totally do that. There's nothing preventing you from adjusting that at all. So, and in some ways, using MIDI loops is better than audio ones, because MIDI ones, you can at least actually change out the sound if you need to. You can change the melody if you need to. In fact, I would say that's a better way of doing it than, let's say you want a lead on your track, and so you just go find a splice loop that's already pre-composed and you just throw that on your track. You have no control over that. So what if the library likes everything, but they like, that melody kind of sounds like something else we've heard. Another producer has used that same loop. We need to change that up. You don't have many options at that point if it's an audio file. You could do that Melodyne thing where you change it up. But yeah, I would say going with more MIDI stuff is probably a safer bet, actually. The Cool Crew. I play everything. I play everything. Isn't that dangerous to do, flipping the MIDI notes like you played? What if people can tell it's a sample from a kit? Can you reword that, Cool Crew? I'm not exactly sure what your question is there. Flipping MIDI notes around is not a problem. What if they can tell it's a sample from a kit? Well, everything's sampled from something, unless you actually have an orchestra in your room and you were playing everything 100% live, like completely from yourself. We're all using samples and loops, and we're all using other people's sounds that they've recorded. So using samplers and all that stuff, that's absolutely what you have to do if you want to have a big wide range of sounds to work with. So yeah, maybe just rephrase it. Maybe I'm not understanding that. In a record label session, that's all everyone is doing is flipping splice samples and TV film placements. Isn't this risky as far as the samples from the kits? Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're asking there. Mike, do I send Jesse? I send libraries via the streaming service Disco for a monthly fee. I also pay a monthly fee for Dropbox storage. Would you recommend continuing this direction or using Dropbox for both? Um, Now, when you say you send to them, are you talking about actually delivering final files or shopping to them? If you're shopping to them and trying to get a contract with them, I would not be sending them any files at all. You might be able to use your Disco thing if it's just streaming. If it has streamable links, that's fine. But I do recommend, even what's better is having your own website. You can use my tutorial, which is here in the well, it's in the SyncEdge membership area. It's a 1-hour tutorial. You can learn how to make your own website. I walk you through how to do that. That looks like the best, I think, for a library, because it shows the most professionalism is to have your own URL and your own website professionally laid out. And it's super simple to do that these days, and that's where you stream everything. But if you're talking about just sending files, like, yeah, if you can do it with Disco, keep with Disco. If you can do it with Dropbox. I love Dropbox. I use WeTransfer and Dropbox. I just have both of those because it seems like sometimes Dropbox gives me issues, so I have WeTransfer as a backup. But, you know, whatever works for you. As long as the files get to them, that's what really matters. It doesn't really matter what you use. All right, Audio Sync, Mark. I have to hit the road, already late. Thanks for the great info. All right, awesome, man. Yeah, all these Q&As are always available afterwards. And I'm sorry, this one is a little bit choppy. I can see that. Um, I don't know. It says green on my OBS, and I'm gonna actually check my speed right now while I'm on this with you guys, because my speed was looking pretty good this morning. Go ahead and do a speed test here, see what it's looking like. Yeah, I'm at, well, let's see what the upload is. Download, it's at 33, 35, and the upload is at jumping around between 7 and 10. Yeah, about 9, so crossing 10 a little bit. I feel that should be enough for streaming, so don't know. Don't know why it's doing that, but as long as the audio is coming through, guys, that's what I'll focus on for this one. Okay, so Cool Crew. These guys are just taking the audio samples from Splice and then converting to MIDI, switching a note or two around, and then acting like they played the whole piece. Okay. Converting to MIDI, switching a note or two around, and then acting like they played a whole piece. I mean, it's possible to do that. I'm not getting where it's definitely lazy. I mean, I could definitely say that they're guilty of being lazy, but I'm not seeing where the problem is, because if it's an audio sample, right, it's recorded, then they're converting that. Let's say they're just replaying it. It sounds like when you say converting it, or they have an analyzer or something like that. It's like, this is a melody progression. They go, okay, I want to do something like a MIDI version of that. Then they're gonna have to get their own sound, right? They can't use the same sound from this audio file because that didn't come with the MIDI track. So they have to have a new sampler, and then they mess with that melody a bit to create something original. Unless there's something in the terms that say you cannot do that, I don't see how that's any different than, let's say you take a audio file that has a vocal melody on it, and you chop it up, and then you kind of just mess with how it's performed, and then you throw that on your track, which is allowable. You can absolutely do that with their terms. So yeah, you're basically messing with their sound and creating something original from it. Maybe use that as inspiration. And this one seems like they're using it as inspiration, then they create their own thing different from it. So it's possible to do that. So I'm not sure where the issue is. Michael, Jesse, do you sell any of your new works on iTunes, or do you work solely in the sync library realm? In other words, where is your comfort zone? Yeah, I am not doing any music on iTunes, Spotify. Some of my, if you look my name up, you'll find some stuff that I've done through libraries showing up on Spotify and iTunes and that kind of thing. But that wasn't me putting it up there. That was a library I worked with putting it up there as well. But no, I am not really interested in selling directly to the marketplace or getting into streaming or any of that kind of stuff. I've just been 100% focused on sync licensing, because that's where the money and checks and the contracts and the performance royalties and the sync fees, and where my real like bread and butter has been coming. I did the artist thing. I had a production deal with Tyrese. We were flying to New York, meeting with a label CEOs, big people. I've been on that side of the industry, and there's still that part of me that's like, it'd be kind of cool to tour and, be in a band and do all that kind of stuff, or, at least have like a hit record. And there's still a part of me that's like, that'd be kind of cool to do. But really at the core of it, what am I doing this for? I love just creating music. So I don't really care where it happens or what medium it gets out to into, because my music has been heard by actually millions and millions of people at this point, maybe even billions, who knows how many people. But my music has been out there for the world to actually hear and see. And most importantly, I feel valued for the music that I do create, and somebody's paying me to do this work that I'm doing. So it's really cool to not just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it for free again. Okay, yeah, I'll do it for credit. Oh yeah, sure, I'll do, because that's usually how musicians are treated. It's like, yeah, you're like the last on the budget. You everything's been, just do it for free, do it for credit. We'll give you a meal, right? That's usually how musicians are treated in the industry. So it's great to not feel that way. For the last 10 to 11 years in this industry, I've not felt that way. I've actually been getting paid and being valued and being counted on and being part of a team. So it gives me value, it gives me purpose, and most importantly, I just get to make music full time, right? That's my dream. That's been my dream since I was very, very little. So I'm just very grateful that there's an industry that allowed me to do that in this really cool place. All right. Let's see. Movides. Hey Jesse, notice there are some music libraries and you can't listen to their catalog if you're not a customer. Is there a way to hear their catalog if you want to know if your music fits to their catalog? No. Usually you can't. If they're keeping it under lock and key and private, then you can't really do that. Fortunately, some of those libraries, though, they'll have like a reel, right? You can see their sizzle reel of what they've done, or they might have social media where they're showing off some of their placements. So there's ways around that where you can kind of just get an idea of like, well, what kind of stuff do they have and what quality do they have, and is my stuff going to be really be useful for them? Sometimes you can also reach out to them and say, hey, I'm interested in working with you guys. I don't know if my music is really relevant for you. Is there any way I can hear some of the music you guys are representing to see if my stuff would be compatible? You might be surprised. Some of them would be open to letting you listen to some of their catalog, but unfortunately, obviously they have that right to keep that stuff under lock and key, completely exclusive for customers or clients, I should say. All right, Tom, my specialty is piano. I'm new to sync, but I've written piano music for specific films. I have a high-end grand piano in my studio. Should I try and specialize in piano-based sync licensing? That could be your niche, Tom. If you have a great, high-quality, live-sounding piano that you can get access to, most people watching this right now, and most of my students probably don't have that. So you might be able to. You're absolutely right. Get high quality piano based music. It can have some orchestra stuff around it, or it could be completely piano by itself. That might be something to entertain, absolutely, because that could be a really cool selling point to say this is all live recorded. It's in a real studio, and you need to be able to deliver that difference though. So like, let's say another producer also does piano music, but they're doing it completely MIDI. You play your tracks next to theirs and you can't really tell which one was recorded in a live studio. That'll be a problem for you because you're doing all this extra effort and it's not really showing. So you really do make sure that you have the highest quality stuff out there. But yeah, absolutely, it's very, very possible to make a niche for yourself that way. All right, Tom, thanks for all the amazing expertise you're sharing, by the way. So many mysteries have been solved by joining this course. Cool, man. Great to hear that. All right, you're welcome, John. All right, guys, we are just about at the end here, so I'm going to take these last few questions, and then I'm going to hop off. But this will be available for an entire replay in the SyncEdge membership area. You guys will always get access to these Q&As. Michael, do you ever share some of your synced tunes with friends for their enjoyment, or is that a breach? In other words, how many how will my fans hear my stuff if it's only available for sync? Well, yes. I mean, sometimes if I have like a buddy or a family member and I want to show them some cool thing that I've worked on, I'll do that, and that's kind of like a sort of a private deal, but definitely not publicly. And a lot of times I won't even do that unless they're in the studio with me, and I'll play it for them right there. I don't want to like email it to them and have a potential problem with that kind of thing. So I'm very protective of all that, especially with my contracts. But once you get placements, the one way that fans will hear about it is you go tell them, right? You just found out you have a placement on an MTV show or an ABC show, whatever it is. Plaster that all over your social media and talk about it. This is great. And then if you can, try to get a clip of it when it airs. A lot of these websites, you can go get them. I just did a video a couple weeks ago about one of my tracks that was placed on a movie and a CBS TV show. And I went and just bought both of them, basically. I was like, all right, well, I want to be able to play these. Luckily, somehow, YouTube hasn't taken them down yet. Usually those copyright spider bots find that stuff and they take it down. But it's still up there. I don't monetize my videos, so if you're trying to monetize your stuff, you might run into a problem. But I don't have any ads or anything running on my videos. But yeah, so I just show it off. So you can do the same thing. You can put yourself on camera like I'm doing right now. Go to your fans, like, look at guys, look at this placement I just got, and play that back to them. So you need to be your PR agent basically, and sort of honk the horn and tell everybody about it. All right. Mike, Jesse, I'm signed to a library that's very successful and I can't get in the library. Well, you got to reword that one, Mike. If you're signed to them, how come you can't get in it? I don't get what you're asking there. Not an error. I know, pretty strange for the response. So are you talking about like you can't see their catalog, or what do you mean you can't get into the library if you're accepted by them? That'll be the last one. So Mike, if you can verify that, I'll try to help you out, but I don't know what you mean. Oh, you're welcome, Nigel. Glad you enjoyed it. And my internet problems continue. I thought I was past this. A little more research, see what else I can do. I was almost thinking about just doing it on my phone, because I wonder if my phone will actually be better with streaming rather than just this computer. So okay, it's Movdits. Still don't understand with your pronunciation there. Okay, Mike, I can go into and review anything in their catalog, and I'm signed to them. Cannot go into and review anything the catalog, and you're signed to them. Oh, you're saying like you're in their catalog, but you aren't given access to it. That's happened to me as well. I've definitely worked with a catalog that also didn't let me see their catalog, even though I was submitting to them. So again, that's their prerogative. If they want to keep it completely under lock and key, that's their right to do that. It's their catalog, right? So you can ask them and maybe say, hey, is there any way I can kind of just get a temporary pass, just maybe for 24 hours to kind of go look and just see what's going on in the catalog, so I can see how I'm going to be relevant. And they might be able to do something like that for you. But if they say, no, sorry, like this is just for clients only, we don't want to have any access points outside of that, you just kind of have to respect that. All right. You're welcome, Christopher. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to let you guys know where I was coming from, how I got into this business, and yeah, the struggles that I went through. And I'm sure most of you guys are going to be going through the exact same struggles. So we're really not alone in this. Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it, man. All right, guys, I'm going to head off here. Sorry for the choppiness of the video, but hopefully the audio all came through for you guys and you learned something from this this video. You're welcome, Mike. I'm glad that helped out. So keep up the good work. We have 2 really big libraries coming for, what are we coming to? December. I can't believe we're almost in December. This year is just blown by. Really big libraries. I definitely have firsthand knowledge of people working with these libraries and some of the kind of deals that they're getting. So got to bring your A game to them. They are not going to be messing with anybody unless you're literally top of the top of your craft. So yeah, just putting that disclaimer out there. But these are some really awesome libraries that I'm going to be putting out together for you guys here in just a couple of weeks, actually. Yeah, just right after Thanksgiving. So until then, you guys have a great Thanksgiving wherever you are in the world. And hopefully you guys eat well and spend some time with your family and enjoy. And also hustle and get some great work done. And we'll see you guys next month for our next Q&A. And then stay tuned on the 1st of December. We'll have 2 new libraries for you right here in SyncEdge. See you guys.